Right then, what is a backload? To people who are already in the transport industry, they might think that's obvious. If you're not in the industry, you're probably watching this with a completely clear mind. The reason I'm doing this video is I think the term is kind of misunderstood by some, or at least there's quite a difference in opinion what the term actually means, particularly in like the current time, because things have happened in the transport industry in the last 10 years or so which has kind of changed the way things work, which I'll come on to. So the reason I want to do this is I do get frustrated sometimes with people sort of doing a kind of like a double backload, which I don't understand, but we'll get to that. Okay, so basically in the transport industry, so here I'm talking about, general haulage and, trucks, and also light haulage in vans, which is what I do in my van, light haulage as a courier, same day courier. So I'm not talking about local work really here, or parcel delivery and stuff. So the way it normally works is a transport company, whether that's a big company or just one guy in one van, maybe like myself, have your own customers, and by own customers I'm not talking about doing work for other transport companies here. I'm talking about doing work for like the actual company who's requesting it to be sent. So maybe I don't know, it could be a builder's merchant, anything, any kind of in a kind of, I'm talking here more about commercial, industrial kind of courier and transport work, rather than dealing with general public, moving all second-hand furniture and stuff like that. So generally the way it works is a transport company have their local customers. They'll take on a job from them, or the customer will ring them up and say, right, we need a load taking to wherever. Say they're West Midlands based like myself, customer rings them up, need a load taken blah 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 to Liverpool. So they'll go get that job and they'll charge the customer obviously agreed rates or whatever, or maybe it's just price per job, and then they'll get all of that money, so direct to the end user, the customer. And then when they get up to Liverpool, they're not from Liverpool, they're from the northwest, they're from the West Midlands, so we don't have any customers up there, but they've got a truck up there or a van up there, whatever it is, and they will need to get a job to get back to their home location, their home site or home area, the West Midlands. So they would approach other transport companies. So back in the day, I think people had, just contacts around the country, little black book, who to ring, say, I've got a truck or a van in your area thing, have you got any loads coming to the West Midlands? And they kind of help each other out. And if they can agree a job, that's then a backload. But because it's not direct to the end customer they're picking up from, it's through a transport company in that area, they're doing it as a subcontractor. So it's a subby rate, as a backload subby rate, subcontractor rate. So they're not getting all the money that the end customer's paying, they're getting percentage. Normally I think it works like 2/3. So in a long wheelbase van, say for long jobs, like the main contractor might charge £1.50 a mile, and then whoever's subcontracting doing that as a backload might get £1 a mile, and then obviously so you get like 2/3 of it, and then the person whose job it is, really, they keep a third of it, so they're still making money, making a profit, and it's not tying up one of their vehicles, one of their drivers. So it kind of works out for both. So that's backload, and backload are subby rates, generally speaking. So that is your backload. Obviously things have changed quite a lot, in like we're obviously now in the digital age, so the digital revolution has pretty much happened, or if it hasn't happened, we're at like tail end of it. So we're now firmly in a digital age. It's changed and upset a lot of industries and markets, and it's changed transport a lot, because whereas before you could you'd have to have contacts, or transport companies have contacts in certain areas and like networking. Now it's a lot easier, because it's a lot easier to get going and get contacts, or you don't really need contacts, because there's companies out there who do or offer a service, a platform. The most common one is, or the biggest one by far, best known, is Haulage Exchange Group, a transport exchange group, which is the haulage exchange for trucks and stuff, anything greater than 7.5 ton, and then Courier exchange for, you know, motorbike up to 7.5 ton. I never understood why it goes to 7.5 ton. In my mind, that should be on the HX, not the CX, but that's the way they do it. So now these platforms are great, because people like me starting out, or anyone watching this trying to start out, you just sign up, and then transport companies just post either the spare loads or loads you need covering on there, and then you take it, or you don't take it, you quote for it, and if you get the job, you do it, but you're still a subcontractor. You're not getting everything that customer, the actual person you're picking up from normally is paying for it. The transport, not always, but usually the case, you're not getting 100% of that. They're not your customer. They're whoever you're doing the work for, the contractor, and then you're subcontracting to them. So that is a backload. So on these freight exchanges or load boards, I mean, the CX and the HX aren't the only ones. There are others out there, but I've only ever tried one other, but I tried a Courier Expert, but yeah, I didn't really get very far with that one. I think the HX and CX have got the kind of market covered, and to be fair, they've really, used the digital thing and data and through the app and stuff. It's it's pretty advanced, to be fair. It's pretty good, the software and stuff, but it's just a tool, isn't it? So and you pay to use that tool, subscription. So it works, subscription service. But the point is, if you do any work off one of these boards, it's a backload, because you're not getting everything. You just subcontracting to the contractor, the person who's got it. So all jobs on boards like the CX and the HX are backloads. So whether it's if you're on the CX, which I am, so the HX I believe works exactly the same, you have two categories of job. You've got hot shot, which are kind of like urgent, dedicated and direct kind of jobs, and then you've also got one on there which is backload, which I've never understood, because they're all backloads, as I've just gone through, or at least that's how I see it. It's, I'm sure other people got different opinions on this, but this is the way I see it, and I think it's how it is really. I can't see how I've got it wrong really. So they're already a backload, even hot shots. It's just a case of how urgent it is. So I never understood this backload category, because quite often you see shippers, they'll post a job which is pretty much the same as a hot shot, which is collect within the hour, deliver ASAP, or it'll have a time frame on there, which means basically you've got to pick it up and go straight there to get there in time. But they put it down as a backload, I think hoping people will bid cheaper just because it says backload. But all jobs on the CX, all jobs on these platforms are backloads. And it kind of winds some people up. It winds me up a bit. The way I see it, like I say, they're all backloads on there. Hot shot means urgent, like dedicated and direct. Vehicle, whatever that is, vehicle is, whether it's a truck or a van or a motorbike. I can't understand what this backload thing means. I reckon they should change that to co-load, personally. So it means, you know, they're all backloads on there. You've got hot shot, which is urgent, and then you've got co-load, which is, you know, can be loaded with something else. But if you're doing that, if it is a co-load, you need to know what are the goods. So if it says backload, long wheelbase van, deliver within the next 3 days, so you need the time frame so people can plan around it, try and tie it in with other loads. And you also need what is a load, because if it just says long wheelbase van and the load is, you know, 3 pallets and 1 ton, that's you fully laden pretty much, and, you know, pretty much all the space in your van taken up. So the chance of finding another load that works around that, it's just not going to happen, or very unlikely. So, you know, yeah, I don't understand that. So that's what I'd like to see the CX do anyway. I just don't understand this backload category. I think it's misused, and some people who are new to it maybe just go, oh, they want a backload. What a lot of shippers think is, or a lot of people think is, because you've done a load in the morning to get away from home, assuming people start at home to get out of the area or away from where they live, they're looking for a job to get back home. But if you're using a CX, which is what I do, to get your load out from home, you're doing a backload as your outbound load. You need to be getting, you know, the same kind of rates coming back. Or like I do, if you want to do well enough, just if you want to earn a reasonable living, just doing backloads, so just getting all your jobs off a load board like the CX or a HX, you need to be doing no dead miles or very few dead miles. You need to be kind of willing to tramp, whether you're in a van or a truck. Obviously, if you're in a truck and it's got sleeping, a bed and all that lot, it's a lot easier on the HX. But if you're in a CX like me, you can do it. I do it, and you can do all right out of it. But a lot of shippers kind of think, right, it's an afternoon job, so people are going to be looking to go home. So instead of get £1 a mile for subcontracting for like a long wheelbase van, like I said earlier, they might want it, you know, 70-80p or maybe less a mile because they're going home. But you've already done a backload. Or a lot of people like myself have. It might be different for people who got some of their own customers. So say I don't currently have any customers on my own. I've gone into a lot of vlogs. I'm planning to relocate this year, so I've not bothered looking for them in the West Midlands local to me, because I don't plan to be here for that much longer. All being well, I plan to move back to where I grew up. But if I did have my own customers, and I'd say done a job, outbound job, 200-mile job, paying £1.50 an hour mile, so that job's worth 300 quid to me. Ideally, I want to be getting a job on the way back, you know, that fits in reasonably well, that pays, you know, £1 an hour, which is kind of like going subby rate, and then I'm doing quite well, doing really well. That's a good day when you can get it to marry up and work like that. And if you have got your own customers on that £1.50 going out, you can maybe go a bit cheaper, and then these laying like 60, 70, 80p a mile coming home still works out okay for you, but you're still, in my view, selling yourself short. There's no reason, if it's dedicated and direct, why you should do it for that, because you're just kind of selling yourself short, really. So just to add some sort of basic figures and kind of case study in here. Again, so thinking about sort of myself and what I do, because that's what I'm most familiar with in a long wheelbase van. So say working as I do now, so like I said, I don't have any of my own customers. I'm sat at home on a Monday morning looking for my first job of the week. I get a job up to the northeast, say somewhere 200 miles for £200, which would be a really good rate to be honest to get, especially at the moment, but let's just say I can get that. I do the job, I get up there sort of early afternoon, and then I've got 200 quid on the, you know, so far for the week. So I got a few options. I could say, right, that's it for the day, I'm just going to drive home empty now. So I drive all the way up there for £1 a mile, 200 miles, drive 200 miles home. So it works out 50p a mile, all miles, because all miles is the key, okay? People bang on a bit about pence per loaded mile, but it's all miles. It's your overall all miles pence per mile over the week that matters, okay? And how much you obviously earn, what your takings are, and then what your overall all miles pence per mile is for the week. Basically, they're the two things you want to keep track of, in my view. So say I've gone up there, £200, come back home empty, so that's 400 miles for 200 quid, that's 50p a mile. But you're always going to have to, travel to get the collection and stuff, so it's going to be slightly less than 50p a mile. So that isn't an option, because in my view you need to be doing at least £200 plus VAT on average over the week, over the year. £200 plus VAT a day, and then your all miles pence per mile need to be 85 pence in a long wheelbase, plus probably more like 90 pence all miles with the way fuel is at the moment, but hopefully that's going to come down. So obviously going up there and coming home empty isn't an option. You could go up there, which is what I do, on a Monday, try and get a job back to home so you can spend the night at home. And sometimes that happens on a very odd occasion, not very often at all, to be honest. Or what I do is I'm a tramper. So this is the reason I tramp, is because if you want to earn decent money just doing backloads, which is what all loads on these load boards are, you need to keep dead miles to a minimum. You need to keep moving. So I'll bid to go all over the UK within my sort of area I go. So like, I don't go to Scotland and stuff, but that's another video. There's certain areas I go to, certain areas I don't. Every job's got its plus and minuses. So then I'll just bid on a job. So I've gone up to the northeast, and then the job pings up. This has happened to me before. So I've got 200 quid on the way up. Job pings up, go in town to Kent. I get it. Again, £1 a mile, or maybe slightly less, because it's a very long job. So I did get £1 a mile, that's 250. Long day, but I'll go and pick it up. Down to Kent, that's 450 quid for the day. That's pretty much my best day I've ever had, 440 I think. Plus that. But then I'm in Kent, so I kip in Kent for the night, tramp in the van. Obviously the van's kitted out for tramping, night heater and stuff for the winter. And then I wake up the following morning and I do the same again. And then do that between Monday and Friday. And then occasionally it means I can get home during a week, so that's just the way it works out, because my last job of the day will be quite close to home, and then I'll nip home. So all the way through the week, Monday to Thursday, I'm in that mode until things change on a Friday when I'm trying to get home. So I have to be much more selective about where I'm going. I'm trying to get a job to home, and when the CX is reasonably busy, which it isn't at the moment because it's the beginning of the year, I normally do manage that. Which means I don't do too many dead miles at the end of the week, and I usually earn at least 200 plus VAT a day on average. And then I'll take, a pence per mile, it's usually 85 pence a mile plus. That's my targets for the week. So that's the second option. The third option is you want to get home, but you're desperate to get home. Maybe you have to get home. Family commitments or stuff like that, or maybe you have got some of your own customers, and the following day you've got a pickup arranged. So you took a CX load or backload out, and you're looking to get a backload back. So that's when people kind of go a bit cheap. So instead of paying £1 a mile, I'm going to quote 78 pence a mile for any jobs that are going close to home, which is why sometimes jobs in the afternoon are hard to get for a good rate. So that's the third option, and they're all just, doing load platform jobs like CX or HX. They're the three options there. And then the fourth option, which is something I'm not doing at the moment, but I'm going to try and do this year once I've relocated. Got your own customers, so you're getting that instead of getting £200 for that first job away out from home area, I'm getting £300 because it's 200 miles at £1.50. So I tip up, I end up in the northeast, and I got 300 quid, you know, runs on a board, and I want to get home, so I can quote cheaper than other people but still do well out of it. So even if I could get £1 a mile, which, you know, if I can get that, it's great, because the average will be £1.25 there and back, minus a bit for getting to the pickups and stuff. So call it £1.20 for the day, all miles. You're doing good money then. You're doing a really good money then. And you say you're going to earn 200 on the way back, 300 on the way up, £500 for the day plus that, at about £1.20 a mile, all miles. So if you can do that, that's when you make good money. That's what you want to be doing. That's what I'd like to be doing, but I think it's really hard to do that. Or if you've made that £1.50 a mile on the way up, if you do drop to 70-80 pence a mile, you're still doing all right. Say you dropped it to, I'll do a bit of maths here on a go. Say you went really keen, dropped it to, because this job's going back to your home location, you need to be home tonight, or you want to be home tonight. Maybe you got another of your own customers' jobs of the following morning, so you've got to get home. Say you go in at 70 pence, so you made £1.50 on the way up, 70 on the way back. So what's that? 220, £1.10 minus a bit for getting around, probably about £1.5 a mile. So you're still doing over £1 a mile comfortably, all miles, and you're earning £140 for the way down and £300 for the way up, for £440. Again, that's good. Right, there's a fourth option, okay, so for the fifth option. So the first three options I went through were if you're just doing backloads, you know, offload platform sites, like I do. The fourth one, which I just been through, was if you've got your own customer for the way out. So you're looking to get an own customer on the way out and then use load platform job sites to get a load back. The fifth option is if you've got your own customer on the way out. So this 200-mile job has paid me £300 on my way out from home, my outbound job. So really, you know, is it an option if you've got your own outbound customer paying £1.50 a mile for a long wheelbase? It's kind of like the going rate, I believe, what the end user pays. Is it then feasible to come home empty? So if you did, obviously it's just divided by 2 because you're doing the same miles again home, which would be 75 pence a mile. But obviously, as with the other ones, you've still got to get to the collection and then you've got to drive home. So it's going to be probably more like 70 pence a mile, all miles for the day, which is just isn't enough, is it? So that proves to you that even if you've got an outbound customer, if you're coming home, you know, paying the £1.50 a mile in a long wheelbase on long jobs, you need a backload, otherwise you're not making any money really, or it's, you know, you're working long hours for not a great deal of reward and it's not worthwhile. So yeah, so well, the fifth option isn't an option really, is it? So you kind of need a backload. So if you're on these load platform sites like CX, HX, whatever, that's where they come into their own. That's what they're intended for originally. So even if you do come home occasionally because you have to be home for the following morning, you can't decide, right, I haven't got a job from here, so I'm just going to tramp and try again in the morning, because you have to get back for whatever reason. So you've got another of your own customers the following morning, so you just take it on the chin and go back and hope that doesn't happen too often. Or ideally, obviously the key is here, you're trying to get a job, which is why if you've got good money from a direct own customer on the way out, you're in a better position to go maybe slightly cheaper then, but still you're still kind of selling yourself short a bit, but then that's the risk, isn't it? So if the perfect job turns up, it's taking you close from where you're sat, going close to home, you're probably going to go in a bit cheaper, maybe 78 pence a mile because you've earned £1.50 on the way out, then it's a cracking day. But if it's a job that's kind of part of the way home or doesn't quite take you home, so say I'm in the West Midlands, say it's a job going to Nottingham, I'm not going to go to Nottingham for 70, 80 pence a mile. I'm going to try and get it closer to £1. If I can get it to £1 to Nottingham, then I can drive home empty from Nottingham and it's still a good day. So that is kind of the fifth option I can think. There you are. So what this shows you really is Loadboard, like the CX, they're all backloads on there, okay? So, and you can do it like I do if you want to, but the only way to earn good money, you might, be earn a basic living, going out on the full backload rate and then going in cheap to get back. But if you want to earn a decent living and make it worthwhile, you kind of, if you're relying just on things like the CX, you need to be willing to tramp. I mean, you can stay in cheap hotels and stuff, but it's not always easy to find a cheap hotel, as I've found, and it obviously it's all extra cost, isn't it? So you have to factor that in. So basically, if you're going to just do backloads like off the CX, you need to be willing to tramp. And the key to this industry is, and all the experienced couriers say to it when you're starting off, they said it to me on, Facebook groups and stuff when I was asking and doing research before I got into this. And you need your own customers. In a van you do anyway. I think it's a bit different in trucks. I think there's more money in trucks. It's obviously a lot harder to get into, operator's license and all that stuff, a lot more regulation. Whereas the courier world, it's so easy to set yourself up. There's no barriers to entry. If you wanted, so I'm talking here this last bit more about the courier thing. If you're going to just use backload sites like the CX, you need to be willing to tramp. Or if you want, to earn the real good money, or you need to be at home every night, you need your own customers on the way out, paying the full own customer rate on the way out, and then using the CX for backloads. So just as what it's intended for, really, getting home on the subcontractor rate. So that is basically how it works, sort of roughly financially, with a few rough numbers. Anyway, so bit of not a rant, but maybe a bit of a ramble this week, but I just wanted to put that out there for anyone who's possibly thinking of getting into the industry, watches videos like myself and other YouTube vloggers who are owner-driver couriers doing light haulage. I just thought I'd just put that on here. It's kind of a tip and thing, and just know what other people who are currently couriers doing this line of work, what they think about what I've said. So as ever, please put comments below, tips and stuff, and your thoughts, views for my benefit, and also anybody else who watches this video in the future. So there you go. That's my little video on what is a backload. Cheers for watching.